Hi everybody, it's Chris here. How are you doing? My question for you today is, what do you need to know in Excel? There's so much functionality in Excel, isn't there? When you open up Excel, all of these options at the top of Excel, what do you need to know? And then you go on LinkedIn, someone's talking about Power BI, someone's talking about Power Query. We can't learn it all. And VBA, we can't learn it all, can we? Well, there's good news today because I'm going to take you through my subset of skills this week, the subset of skills, my toolkit that I use on all of my Excel VBA projects. And my theory that I'm going to try to explain to you this week is that you don't need to know everything in Excel. You need to know a subset of tools. I'm going to present those tools to you this week. Not only that, I'm going to explain why I've chosen these tools. I would really like you to let me know if you're watching us live. Can you see me and can you hear me, please? Just let me know. Can you see me and can you hear me? Would really like to know that if we are live at the moment. I'm going to have a look in the chat and a few people seem to be able to see me. I'm just going to go, guys. I've just got to carry on here. If you're watching on replay, just skip ahead a couple of minutes. We should be going. Right, what do you need to know in Excel in 2021? What's this all about? And why is it important to you? Well, Excel, there's a huge amount to learn. And the thing about Excel is it just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Thank you, Phil, for saying you can see and hear me fine. It just seems to be getting bigger and bigger, doesn't it? Like Excel, Microsoft are always developing Excel. And what have we seen recently? Well, recently we've seen these dynamic array formulae come out, which are pretty cool. We've seen XLOOKUP come out, which is pretty cool. In recent years, with seeing things like Power BI, Power Query, all kinds of new developments. But the problem is, for the average Excel professional out there, the average Excel user anyway, people tend to think, I need to know that. Power BI, I need to know that now. XLOOKUP, I need to know XLOOKUP. You know, the truth is, you're fine using VLOOKUP, index match, whatever you might be doing. It's easy to get overwhelmed, isn't it? Easy to get overwhelmed, and there's this sense of kind of keeping up with the Joneses, we might say. You know, that person's using that, I've got to use that as well. We're going to try to move away from that in this series. There's a lot to learn. It can be overwhelming. We don't have to learn it all. There's a lot of guidance out there, isn't there? Looking at the third point on this slide. There's a lot of guidance out there. Let me know in the chat, where do you get your guidance from? It's great to see people in the chat saying they're getting their guidance from Tiger. That's fantastic stuff. Lots of stuff on LinkedIn about Excel, even Facebook. There's stuff on there. I've got a little Instagram page about Excel. I just want you to reflect and try to think critically. Try to think critically about the Excel guidance out there. What's the purpose of this guidance? What is this person's perspective? And what information are they trying to offer? Might there even be an ulterior motive for what this person is saying? And I always say, you know, on my streams, you know, I'm a bit of a VBA guy. I have a bit of a natural bias towards VBA. But I can tell you one thing about what I'm telling you is it's all based on real life practice. The stuff I do for my customers, my paying customers who pay for all this, like the office we're in, the stuff I'm streaming with, the stuff I use on those projects to make that money, I'm teaching that to you. You know, so that's my perspective. So that guidance that's out there, you know, what is people's perspective? And something we see quite a lot these days, and I'm always kind of moaning about this on the channel, is people promoting alternatives to Excel. Yeah, which is fine, by the way, because there's certainly limitations to Excel, big data sets and remote users being one thing. But there's also a lot of stuff that Excel can do that people haven't explored. So there's this other set of arguments, you know, people saying, oh, you need to use other stuff apart from Excel. So there's a lot of information out there. And I just want you to think critically about it, be a critical consumer of that information and have a bit more confidence in your own approach to Excel. You don't need to know what everybody else is talking about. Yeah, you need to stay in your lane and get stuff working for you. That's what I've been doing for the past 10 to 12 years. I've had a great time with Excel. So in this series, and we are live 4 o'clock every day this week. Then Friday, we're going to be live at 7 o'clock. I'm going to be telling you more about the live event on Friday. This series presents an argument for learning a subset of Excel tools based on one consultant's experience, which of course is my experience. A subset of tools, but a set of tools that are going to punch above their weight. Siri wants to get involved with the stream. Sorry, Siri, you're not in this stream. A set of tools that are going to allow you to get so much done in Excel. And today I'm going to show you the range of customers I work with. I am using these tools. So I hope that sounds fun. 26 people watching, 9 likes. Thanks so much, guys. I'm just going to say hello to a few people watching live. I've got the chat open. By all means, ask me your questions. If you're watching on replay, skip forward a minute or two. We'll be into the presentation. So who's with us today? Welcome, Michael, Stuart, Vinay, Tiffany saying snow falling in Michigan, all getting into that festive spirit. Good stuff. Phil's with us from Amsterdam. Welcome, Phil. Nikki from Bromsgrove. Welcome, Nikki, one of our members. Stuart's with us. Sambo Cassidy is with us. Good stuff. Going down the chat here. Lionel is with us. Lionel, you just emailed me this afternoon. I see. I'll have a look at that. Shlomo is with us with some very kind comments. Shlomo, I appreciate that. I know I've had emails before. Really good to have you with us today from Israel. Suresh is with us. Welcome, Suresh. Henrik as well. How are you doing? Going down the chat here. NATO is with us from Australia. Good to see you, NATO. Don is with us as well. Welcome, Don. Steve just tuning in from Lincoln. Are you still in Lincoln, Steve? How's life in Lincoln? Not far from me, I have to say. Bjarna tuning in as well. Welcome, Bjarna. I think I've covered everyone. Michelle tuning in at the bottom there. Michelle, I haven't seen you for ages. Michelle's been a fan of the channel for about 5 years. So, Michelle, it's great to see you. And let me know your questions, Michelle. Always a pleasure to answer your questions. So let's get going. The structure of this week, we've got 4 mini lectures. Yeah, we're sitting down for 25, 30 minutes a day. Get yourself a cup of tea. I've got mine. I'm going to take you through 4 topics, and hopefully it's all going to make sense. And it's going to give you motivation. It's going to give you reassurance that what you know in Excel could be a lot better than you think. It's going to give you motivation going into 2021. What are you going to do with Excel in 2021? Yeah, I've got plans. Yeah, you know I've got projects and plans. Big plans for YouTube, for the website, all kinds of things. What are you doing in Excel in 2021? I want to create that motivation for you. Yeah, so you're not worried about what do I need to know. Get involved with real world applications, guys. Spreadsheets are for humans. Start creating value for yourself, people around you. So 4 sessions, context. What kind of people are actually using Excel? That's a tough question, isn't it? What kind of people are using Excel? In this series, I've gone back through my invoice record, my order book. Yeah, all my invoices going back to 2010, they all sit in an Excel file. You guessed it. I've gone back through and I've tried to do an analysis on the kind of people who are using Excel. Yeah, because if we want to get to a subset of tools, we've got to really understand what Excel is being used for. And a good starting point is saying, okay, what kind of people are using Excel? So we're going to be looking at things like sectors, the size of the organization. We're going to look at the turnover of the organization and a few other interesting things. That's what we're going to look at today. And just to give you a sense, as I said, of what people are using Excel and hopefully debunk some myths. Debunk some myths about Excel, that it's all big data sets, it's all VBA, it's all Power Query. You'll be surprised how simple some very high level work is. That's because it's not about the technical stuff. We know this on the channel. It's not always about the technical stuff. There's a whole host of other skills that are important too. So today we're talking about context, setting the scene, applications. How could we categorize the things that people are doing in Excel? How about this? It just seems one big mess, doesn't it? When people talk about Excel, you know, this person's trying to do that. You're trying to get this done. Lots of people are confused anyway. I have 4 categories. Yeah. Whatever you're doing in Excel, it's one of 4 things. Yeah. And just having this structure in your head, once again, is going to help you organize your ideas, help you understand the tools you need. Yeah. Category 1, I need these tools. Category 2, I need these tools. When I'm having a client meeting, got a couple of client meetings this week, got a new client meeting, and I've got a meeting with existing clients talking about new projects. when people are saying to me what they're trying to do in Excel, I'm thinking it's one of 4 applications. Yeah. And we're going to go through the applications this week. So once again, it's going to help you understand what you're trying to do with Excel and get you using the tools you need. And then the third session, which will be on Wednesday, could we create a subset of techniques to get the job done? So once we've understood the kind of people who are using Excel, we've understood some of the applications. Okay, only then can we actually select the tools we need for the job. How about that? Application-driven tool selection. What about that? If you're doing that in your practice, you're already ahead of 99 people, because for most people, the tool comes before the application. Yeah. And I'm speaking to those people on LinkedIn who are bigging up Power BI and everything else all the time. If you want to use a particular tool, that's one thing. Yeah. And you should practice with a particular tool. And we do lots of practice on the channel. But I'm advocating a different way of thinking about this. Let's move the emphasis away from the tool. Yeah, it's not about having the fastest tool. It's not about having the fastest car. And let's move the emphasis back onto the application. Start using the right tool for the job, and an accessible set of tools that don't require lengthy training and plugins and things like that. So with that in mind, we're going to create a subset of tools this week that allow us to get the job done, allow us to get so many jobs done. And what does this mean? On Thursday, I'm going to try to explain to you what this means for your Excel career. As I said, hopefully create some motivation for you going forward and looking into 2021. Got some good ideas for what people are trying to do in Excel in 2021. Steve is saying, yeah, I'm going to keep on learning and expanding my knowledge. Fantastic stuff. Making more money from applying and sharing that knowledge. Good stuff, Steve. And remember, guys, we have a series which is called How to Make Money from Excel. How to Make Money from Excel, 14 videos. If you want to freelance, start a YouTube channel, you want to move sideways in an organization towards a more analytical role, How to Make Money from Excel series, you're going to love it. Welcome, Bart. Bart is tuning in from the Netherlands. Good stuff. Right, context, let's dig in there. Let's dig in. So let me tell you about my methodology. Yeah. So whatever I tell you, whatever I advocate, I want to be able to show you, substantiate my ideas. You know, I want to justify what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want you to think I'm saying this because I like saying it, although, you know, I love VBA. I'm trying to convince you that I've been doing this for 10 years. I've got a lot of experience, done a lot of projects, got all the YouTube views and everything. And I try to be a reflective practitioner. We always talk on the channel the concept of the reflective practitioner. And hopefully, you know, that shapes my practice and it shapes the way I train people like you. So what have I done? I've gone back through my order book for the past 3 years and analyzed the clients I've been working with, just in order to kind of understand the space. Yeah, remember what our objective is here. Try to understand the kind of people who are using Excel. So I selected a few criteria. So we've got the mode of introduction. Can I get some funky pen action going here? Okay, down here, yeah. Mode of introduction, maybe like not so useful straight away, maybe. But we'll speak a bit more about that in a second. But things like the number of staff in the organization, where's my pen? The number of staff in the organization, that's a good measure of the size of the organization turnover, also a good measure of the size of the organization. The data quantity. So how big is the data set that the organization is working with? This is a critical thing when we're selecting our tool. Are we going to use Excel at all? Yeah, because if we're working with millions of rows of data, Excel isn't an appropriate choice of tool. So this is significant to us. Public or private sector organization. And then the sector of the organization in terms of the I've done with them. And then we're going to talk about the application type. Remember, we talk about 4 applications. And later in the week in particular, we're going to really focus on the type of application. So I went back through my customers using a popular piece of grid-based software, Excel. I just set up these columns and then did an analysis. And I had to set up, a way to do this analysis. Wanted to keep it simple enough to present to you, but also not as simple as to be simplistic, if you know what I mean. That's the thing with analysis. You've got to pitch it at the right level. If it oversimplifies, then it's kind of meaningless. But you've got to be able to communicate it succinctly. Yeah. So I came up with this framework for analysis. So yeah, organization size, for example, 1 represents 1 person, 2 less than 100 staff, 3 more than 100 staff. Turnover here, the number of projects I've done with them, public, private sector, then over here, the data set size, less than 1,000 rows. So I came up with these in order to kind of categorize and analyze these organizations. So let's keep going. Sample size, about 30 projects I selected 30. Why did I select these 30? Well, I chose the ones that I felt were most representative in the sense that these people came to me for business. Yeah. So it's the customers where, how can you say this? The customers where that I got through a friend of a friend, for example, I tried to eliminate those, because it was more the organic demand that I was trying to analyze here, because that's just a better, more representative probably of what's actually going on in the real world. So I kind of took all those out. So a sample size of about 30, but limitations here, I'm not claiming this is representative of what's going on in the world of data. I'm not claiming it's representative of anybody else's experience. I fully acknowledge the anecdotal nature of this and the bias, in my research. And as we go through the analysis, I'll try to explain the limitations, and the bias. But, it's quite an ambitious thing we're trying to do here. Generally speaking, what are people trying to do with data? What are people trying to do with Excel? Yeah. And the fact is difficult. There's going to be limitations. That shouldn't stop us trying to get some of the way. So I'm just putting it all out there, critical thinking, acknowledge the strengths of what you're doing, acknowledge the limitations of what you're doing. So I'm throwing some of those out there straight away. Now, before we get into the analysis, let me just show you what the spreadsheet looked like. So hopefully you can see the spreadsheet. Yeah. So I went through 30 projects, go to the bottom of the data set here, 1 to 30. Just went through, got the sectors, did the number of staff, did my analysis there, the turnover, the data quantity. Yeah, just went through, just really nice and simple. So I was able, 1, 2, or 3 there for all of them. And then using Excel, of course, very easy to put together some charts. And then I just drop those charts into PowerPoint. And that's what I'm presenting to you today. Here we are. So what did I find? So my kind of idea here is that this, to some extent, this is representative only in Excel. Yeah. So when we're thinking about what kind of tools should we be using, this is probably helpful, broadly speaking. I'm not saying it's a perfect representation of what's going on, but I'm saying it's a good starting point. So the organizations that I worked with anyway, we can see, yeah, most of them more than 1 person band, but less than 100 staff. And then some of them to actually approach me. So there might be some lessons there, for your practice. And Steve and others in the chat, I think it was Steve saying, I want to go ahead and do some freelancing, Well, there's a lesson for you there. This is the kind of organization that you might want to pitch your offering at. So this is the organization size, the organization turnover. Yeah, so 6 of them, less than 100,000. So that would be kind of micro size in UK business definition. None are less than 1 million, so more than 100,000, less than 1 million, and then 12 of them more than 1 million there. And 3 of them have said not applicable. That's because they're public sector organizations. There's a few schools in this data set, educational organizations. So again, gives you a sense of the turnover of the business, just gives you a sense of the composition of the customers for these projects. Then public or private sector here. So we've got 23 in the private sector, 6 in the public sector, and then 1 is kind of a mixed funding type organization. So again, what I'm saying is this is not necessarily a representation of all the organizations, in the economy. That's not what I'm saying. But if we're talking about Excel and organizations that are compelled to use Excel, this is what I've found. In my experience, and it's a decent sized data set, not a huge data set, but it is a decent sized data set. So for example, here we're talking about more private organizations. that doesn't surprise me because private organizations, they're more agile, more likely to have some budget available. They can move quicker in terms of getting new system. This kind of observation that can inform our practice, inform our thinking, and eventually inform our tool selection, which is where we're trying to get to. So general organizational attributes there. Hopefully that gives you a feel for the kind of organizations I've found in this data set. Also went through and analyzed the sectors here. I've sorted these in alphabetical order, perhaps looking at it again. Could have sorted these in numerical order. So this is just the number of organizations. It's not the size of the organizations, of course. It doesn't relate to turnover or anything like that. So yeah, in this data set anyway, 4 different educational organizations. Downgrading, it's always difficult when you're talking about industry sectors, isn't it? To really understand clearly what people mean by an industry sector. But by trading, I'm talking about Forex traders, so financial trading, talking about sports traders, so people trading on things like Betfair. Also talking about, I work with a company that does commodities trading. So when a big manufacturer of food, for example, needs some oil, like they have a load of cooking oil that they need to make their stuff. Somebody like McCain who makes oven chips, they need to source that oil and they'll go all around the world to find the cheapest oil. So I work with a company that brokers those deals. So commodities trading. And just some general stuff there. So hopefully you're getting a few insights. People think Excel, it must be in the city, must be finance. It must be to do with accounting. And one thing I want you to take away straight away is the diversity of the applications here, the diversity of the applications. But what I can tell you is whether we're working in law, hair and beauty, let me tell you about that project in a second, whether we're talking about trading, on set of tools. Yeah. It's not like, okay, I'm going to the City of London for a meeting. I'm going to get my, I'm going to get my big laptop out that I run Python on. That's not how it works. This customer here is I shouldn't say just at all. That's a really patronizing thing to say. But this is a hairdressers, local hairdressers. Somebody just went on Google. We came up because of geographical proximity. So when I'm going to that meeting, I'm going with the same mindset, the same set of tools as when, I'm going down to the city to meet a commodities trading company or whatever it might be. So this subset of tools we're going to teach this week, works in all kinds of different contexts. So let me know, guys, is this insightful for you? And definitely throw any questions my way. Shlomo says the small screen covers up the data. Could you move it? Can't easily move it, Shlomo. Can't easily move it. So we're going to have to just put up with it for today, but I will bear that in mind for tomorrow, Shlomo. Let me see if I can do that actually, because I do see what you're saying here. Let's get rid of that and let's get rid of me quickly. Okay. So data quantity and the number of projects here. So I think data quantity is more interesting here. So again, trying to debunk a few myths here and people thinking, okay, if we're talking about corporate applications, we're talking about finance trading, then the data sets must be massive. They must have millions of rows of data. But what I want to explain is that there's so many applications of Excel with people working with relatively small data sets. I'm talking less than 1,000 rows. And this happens to me all the time. People will, phone up and they'll say, we've got a massive data set here. And I'll say, okay, how big is the data set? And they'll say, we've got, 700 rows of data, or we've got 2,000 rows of data. Now, don't get me wrong. In different organizational contexts, according to your perspective and experience, that may seem like a big data set. But we're well within Excel's capabilities. That's really what I'm trying to say to you. Most data projects, Excel can handle comfortably, despite what you might read on LinkedIn, or if you've come across the latest promotional piece about the piece of software that's going to make Excel redundant. the vast majority of data problems, Excel is going to be absolutely fine for. Now, of course, there's bias. There's bias in my research here because my sample only includes Excel projects. Yeah. And I do get people phone up, only occasionally, but I do get people phone up and say, this is our situation. And I do say to them, we can't use Excel for that because the data is too big, or because they want some kind of a lot of remote working. So they want multiple people working on the file at the same time. But that's quite rare. It's really quite rare that somebody phones up and, Excel isn't going to work for them, but it does happen. You've got to bear that in mind. Being a critical consumer, you've got to bear that in mind when you're looking at this data. I'm not saying this is representative of all data problems generally, only the projects that I've specifically used Excel for. This gives you a sense, and then, plenty of projects, more than 100,000 rows. And here, this is where things can get challenging, I think. If you can't use Excel in the right way, use the right tools, if you get confused by, thinking I've got to use this tool to do it, you can get in trouble, in this area. More than 100,000 rows, less than 500,000 rows. But this is very comfortable in Excel. Unless you're doing something very complex modeling, this is very comfortable in Excel. And using the subset of tools we're going to learn this week, you're going to be able to cover these data sets very well. 100,000 Excel for me, that's really Excel's going to begin to feel the strain there. Various ways of managing big data sets, together, controlling it very carefully with manual automatic calculation, using VBA rather than formulae, so you don't have 500,000 formulae in the file or more. There's various ways you can handle big data sets, but more than 500, probably look into a different database piece of software, some kind of database software, something like that. And then finally, just quickly, the number of projects here. So this is kind of interesting because certain customers, come for a single project. Other people, we really rattle off the projects one by one. So I just thought it's kind of an interesting thing to look at, not so much from the tool selection, but just kind of a general thing in terms of kind of knowledge of the market. 25 people watching, fantastic. 16 likes. Callum tuning in at the bottom there. Morning, Chrissy, just tuning in from Texas. Good to see you, Callum. How are you doing? Let me know in the chat, guys, if you have any questions here. Right, moving on. Okay, mode of introduction. So just a bit of a bonus slide, really, but this is just how did people come across my company? How did people find Tiger? And again, very relevant to people who are thinking in 2021, I don't just want to learn the subset of tools. I want to actually apply it and do freelance work. And I want to get my name out there. I'm very happy to tell you how to do that. So this is how people found me. YouTube, a lot of people going through YouTube. A few people going through Google search. Now, you've got to remember, Google owns YouTube, of course. So if you're doing well on YouTube, you're going to do well in the largest search engine in the world, which is Google. And then other things. So this does include some word of mouth stuff. Recommendation, but as I said, the informal stuff where it was like my friend or a relation or something like that, I tried to leave those out. So it just gives you a sense of how I got in touch with the customers. That might inform your practice if you're looking to do freelance and stuff like that. So finally for today, applications, and this is a bit of a bridge onto our topic tomorrow. Whenever you're doing something in Excel, I want you to start thinking, what am I actually doing in Excel? And can I begin to categorize the things I do into these 4 categories here? Now, if you can do that, it's just going to give you a way to structure what you're doing in Excel. And you'll be able to recognize, for example, okay, now I'm doing data input. That means I have this set of tools to help me. Now I'm doing data analysis. That means I should be calling on this set of tools. Now I'm trying to automate a process. That means I need to call on this set of tools, which is going to be VBA. So what I did was I went through the projects and for each of these, automation, modeling, or data analysis, I gave it a score on 2 or 3. Let's go and see it on the spreadsheet quickly. Gave it a score of 1, 2, or 3 according to, you can see over here on the right, according to how much of a factor it was. So 3, for example, this project here, this architecture project, there was a lot of automation on it. one on this project. So that means there's little or no data analysis on it. So a lower number means less, higher number means more. So very quickly, it gives us this overall snapshot of what is the most useful skill in Excel, yeah? Or what is the most common application? It's actually automation for me. It was automation. Let me briefly talk about each one, but we're going to dig further into this tomorrow. So automation, we're talking about automating, speeding up manual tasks, talking about automation here. So if you're copy and pasting information between sheets, you've got two files open, you want to take data from one file, move it across to another file, whatever it might be. It's that manual work. We can automate that. We can write some VBA script, execute it, click of a button, and it's gonna get stuff done. That's the main reason people come to me for automation. And over the years, I've developed a bit of a reputation in that area, and clients come back. Yeah. So if they've had a good experience, they come back and they want more stuff automated. Data input. You'd be surprised how many projects is just setting up a spreadsheet to input data. Yeah, sounds very simple. When you open up Excel, you just click the keyboard, you're going to do some data input. Data input is so important because data input determines the data quality. So you must have worked with a spreadsheet where you've got spelling mistakes in there. Maybe you've got spaces after the letter at the end of the word. I do a lot of work with football data, and football scores cause all kinds of problems because Excel thinks you're trying to write them as dates, and sometimes they have spaces in, sometimes they don't. That's a data quality issue, data quality. So if you can control data input and use things like data validation, drop down menus, have the right information on the interface so that the user can input things easily and accurately, that means you're going to have higher data quality. So data input is really important, and organizations come to me and they just want a spreadsheet set up properly for data input. Data analysis is we have a data set and we want to understand it. We have a data set, we want to understand it. So there's one application in this spreadsheet which is to do for a big corporate, which was a load of financial data. It's like 20,000 transactions from the year. And they just want to analyze it. How much for this cost center? How much in this quarter? How much year on year versus last year? The basic kind of financial analysis. That's an example of data analysis. You have the data, you want to apply tools to do that analysis. And finally, modeling, which people most readily associate with, but my research shows that people actually need the least. Modeling means formulae. So input, process, and output, and actually creating a model. So if you created a simple budget planner in Excel, these are my expenses, this is my income for the next 3 months, you're going to write it all out. There you would have an input, a process, and an output. You would have a simple model. And I've already spoken about that commodities trading project, for example. On that project, we're taking live market prices and then putting them into a model to give a price that my customer would offer to their customer. So it's modeling because you have some inputs, you're going to do some calculations using formulae, that gives you an output that's going to be interesting for some reason. So that's an example of modeling. But what I found, and I had a suspicion this was the case, that's actually the thing people want least in Excel. So there's our quick tour of the landscape. Let me know. Any final questions, guys? Welcome DC, just tuning in here. Welcome Jasmine is just tuning in as well. Let me know if you've got any final questions, but that just gives us our context. Yeah. So I've spoken about a few things here. Spoken. What kind of people are using Excel? That's the main thing we're really trying to understand. And we've looked at a subset, of course, of organizations that are using Excel, and I fully acknowledge this is not necessarily representative and there's all kinds of bias in this research, but there is some insight there as well. We've looked at different features of organizations, and we've done a quick analysis. This gives you a sense of the kind of organizations, the different sectors, the size of the data sets that they're working with, all important. And then just a bit of a bonus slide here, my mode of introduction. Then importantly, the different applications. So why is this important? It's important because when we're thinking, what do we need to know in Excel? we want those choices to be justified. Yeah, we want those choices to be sound. Yeah, I love VBA, but I know I can't really just be a VBA consultant. Yeah, VBA does some stuff magically, some stuff it's not very good at. For example, modeling. So we want these choices of which tools to learn to be informed by what's actually going on out there, not just because we want to promote something for a business reason or because we like it, because we know in the real world it's going to create real world value. Remember, spreadsheets are for humans, guys. Can't see any questions coming in, so thanks so much for watching, guys. We are here same time, same place tomorrow. I'm going to tell you more about these different applications of Excel and the kind of tools you need to meet each of these applications. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I will see you tomorrow.